Tash Dile everyone, I'm Sakina Butt and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly feature in English that tells you about this week's news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines first. His Holiness the Dalai Lama successfully concludes visit to Delhi, Bhubaneswar and Kolkata. His Holiness the Dalai Lama's autobiography in Sinhalese to feature weekly in renowned newspaper. Restore Tibet as a buffer zone between India and China, CTA President at Halifax International Security Forum. Unity core of CTA's 550 vision, CTA President to Tibetans in Canada. Integrate but don't assimilate, CTA President to young Canadian Tibetans. CTA President strengthens Tibet advocacy in Ottawa. China must allow UN representatives to meet Gedun Chuginima, Canadian Foreign Minister. EU parliamentarians raise Tibet at EU-China Tourism Year debate in European Parliament. On Friday last week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama left for a week-long visit to Delhi, Bhubaneswar and Kolkata. While addressing the Gyan Devi Salwan Public School in New Delhi, His Holiness emphasized on the importance of the ancient Indian knowledge of Nalanda tradition and also spoke about the necessity of emotional hygiene along with physical hygiene. On Sunday this week, His Holiness donated 1.25 crore rupees to Smile Foundation to help fund education of underprivileged children in India.
Please welcome His Holiness in a very simple way.
His Holiness also expressed his hope for unity between India and China and said that these countries have great potential and could work towards a more compassionate world. The interaction was organized by the Smile Foundation, an NGO that looks after the education, welfare and healthcare needs of less privileged children in India. On Monday this week, His Holiness was received by Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, Sri Navin Patnaik, and Minister of Tourism and Culture, Sri Ashok Chandra Panda, at the Biju Patnaik Airport, Odisha. The next day, His Holiness was conferred with the 10th KISS Humanitarian Award 2017 by Srimati Saswati Bal, President of KISS Society, in a special function at the Kalinga Institute of Social Science. The award is in recognition of His Holiness's contribution to humanity as a world leader and preserver of rich heritage and culture of non-violence. While addressing the students, His Holiness stressed on the practice against caste system and told the youngsters to work with self-confidence. The KISS Humanitarian Award was instituted in 2008 by the KIT and KISS founder to honor and recognize individuals with exceptional contribution to society. His Holiness told the crowd that the main motive of his visit to Odisha is his effort to revive the rich knowledge of ancient India. His Holiness further spoke about humanity, world peace and harmony. On Wednesday this week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama's talk at the Indian Chamber of Commerce in Kolkata planted a seed of hope for millions of people who aspire for peace and stability.
All our knowledge comes from India.
Addressing a packed crowd of Indian leaders, entrepreneurs and scholars, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said that a future educational system nurturing both human intelligence and warm-heartedness can serve to bring peace on earth. He observed that the world is facing off an array of crises, mainly due to a deficit of moral principles and failure of modern education. His Holiness said that there is a need for concerted action and India with its rich spiritual heritage can play a special role. I can see great hope and future on this country. India can make significant contribution, said His Holiness. As the world wrestles with instability and crisis, India is the only country which has the ability to combine modern technology and science with ancient knowledge and train minds with more compassion and peace, the 82-year-old Buddhist scholar said. His Holiness the Dalai Lama's autobiography, My Land and My People in Sinhalese, was published in the best-selling weekend paper of Sri Lanka, Irada Lankadipa, on 19 November. The chairperson of the Sri Lanka Tibetan Buddhist Association, Damenda Poraj, said that the autobiography will be featured for a whole year in episodes. The book was translated by Ruan Harishchandra and published by Sri Lanka Tibetan Buddhist Association. On Monday this week, the President of Central Tibetan Administration, Dr. Lobsang Singye, spoke at the 9th Halifax International Security Forum and was featured as one of the speakers at the panel session titled India-China Relations. Dr. Singye affirmed that Tibet remains the core issue in the India-China relations given its significance as Asia's water tower and the 3,500-kilometer border Tibet shares with India. And on the Doglam issue, he said, it is only the beginning of China's expansionist design and not a one-off standoff. Dr. Singye said the Tibetan plateau needs to be protected and Tibetans must be made the stewards of their own land so that the roof of the world can be protected. Dr. Singye also dwelled on how China's overseas influence operations have rubbed off on every country from Denmark to Australia to South Africa.
Hence, why China has invented the climate change, because of the urbanization of Tibet, has added to the increase in the temperature in Tibet, and it's melting very fast. And part of the reason is also the global warming.
The other speakers on the panel on India-China relations were Dr. Alisa Ayres, Senior Fellow for India, Pakistan and South Asia, Council on Foreign Relations, Ambassador Hussein Haqqani, Director and Senior Fellow, South and Central Asia, Hudson Institute, Dr. Daniel Twining, President, International Republican Institute. Over 300 participants from 80 countries attended this year's forum, organized by Canada's Ministry of National Defence, led by Defence Minister Harjit Sajjan. Earlier this week, Dr. Lobsang Singye interacted with the Tibetan community based in Toronto during his official visit to Canada. In his address, Dr. Singye highlighted the importance of unity among Tibetans, the support for the Tibetan government, and added that the Tibetan community, irrespective of the citizenship they hold, must preserve their identity. Dr. Singye spoke on the rise of China leading to increased global discourses on China and a growing interest on the issue of Tibet. Citing his foreign visits, Dr. Singye reiterated that communicating and raising awareness about Tibet on the global stage as one of the prime motive of his visits. The address also touched upon the 550 vision of CTA, which reflects His Holiness the Dalai Lama's advice on how we should hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Dr. Singye interacted with young Canadian Tibetans in Toronto. Dr. Singye affirmed that one remains Tibetan regardless of the citizenship one holds and spoke on the importance of learning Tibetan language. Iterating the significance of the CTA, Dr. Singye emphasized that CTA is the nerve center of the Tibetan freedom movement and the custodian of Tibetan culture and identity. Dr. Singye advised the young Tibetans to integrate but not assimilate into the Canadian culture. The importance of embracing and preserving Tibetan identity was the highlight of the interaction. In Ottawa, President Singye met with Canadian parliamentarian Arif Virani and Garnet Genuis. Interacting with CBC News Channel, an English-language broadcast network for a program on power and politics, Dr. Singye apprised CTA's commitment to the middle way approach to resolve the Tibet issue through peace and dialogue, seeking a genuine autonomy for Tibet. Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honourable Chrystia Freeland, called on China to allow the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights and the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion and Belief to visit Gedun Chogi Nyima, the missing Panchen Lama, who has not been heard of since he was forcibly taken away by Chinese authorities in 1995 at the age of 6. The foreign minister requested China to provide information on the location of Gedun Chogi Nyima and his parents, the level of education that Gedun completed, and the expected date of his return along with his parents. Minister Freeland reiterated Canada's commitment to continue to have open discussions with China on the issue of human rights and the rule of law in Tibet, and to seek greater access to Tibet for Canadian diplomats and delegations. Members of European Parliament Molly Scott Cato and Casa Segor made strong interventions in the debate of EU-China Tourism Year at the European Parliament plenary at Strasbourg on Thursday last week. Molly Scott Cato, Vice President of Tibet Interest Group, inquired on the preference given to tourists to human rights in Tibet and urged Beijing to start talks with the representatives of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Casa Segor, an active member of Tibet Interest Group, highlighted the repressive and inhuman situation in Tibet. He questioned the morality and ethicality of celebrating a tourism agreement with China without a single reference to human rights, which is not in line with EU's universal and foreign policy values. So much for this week. See you next time. Have a great weekend.